Now I'll continue with the second game I was introduced to when I first discovered video games, and that game was Monster Party. Now I thought I was introduced through Jaws and then Monster Party like immediately after, but that doesn't really mesh well since that was made in 1987 and Monster Party was 1989. Because I do remember playing Jaws before I entered elementary school, so I must have played Monster Party a little bit later in 1989. Let's start with the intro scene to establish context. Well, right after my theme song. Yeah, I like how he's just like, "Hey monster, what's up?" as if monsters are an everyday occurrence. Anyway, he's like, "Yeah, I'll help you out," and all of a sudden, you know what? This is your reward. You get to merge bodies with me. Well, after that, we get a screen full of blood. How did this get past Nintendo's censors? Did they actually play this game? And they have no excuse, too. This is 4 years after the Nintendo was released. You start off with Mark, who has a baseball bat, and all you can really do is whack creatures, though for the most part, hitting something back at them that they throw at you is going to kill them instantly, whereas hitting stuff with your bat can sometimes take 2, maybe 10 hits to kill enemies. You start out fighting energy people, which I now realize are actually high school students with Dragon Ball Z-like energy, not fire. Then you go to a door to find an eggplant monster, but this eggplant monster just says, "Hello, baby," and starts tossing things at you. I mean, you could stay in the corner and just whack his bubbles back at them, but that's gonna take you some time, so you're better off just jumping in his face and getting hit about 3 times before you beat him. So, after you're walking around entering doors, you then stumble across another room, and this happens. It sure was nice of his ghost to wait around and tell you that he's sorry that you weren't allowed to kill him. So eventually you walk forward to find, holy... Look at this, there were happy face blocks here. Now there are evil skulls with blood pouring from the eye sockets, along with a scared tree and angry faces for arms, faces that look alive with blood running through their mouths and some trying to lick you, and horrible blood monsters. Seriously, this is insane. And yet, as a kid, I thought this was the coolest thing ever. Okay, when you eventually reach the second boss, he's a pumpkin guy that's really annoying and kind of impossible to fight with a baseball bat. You kind of want to be the monster. That's right, you can turn into a monster, the gargoyle from the opening scene. Oh, but that's not all you can do. You can fly and shoot lasers from your eyes. I remember we used to leave this boss alone, get the monster, and come back. Yeah, look at that. I find that amusing that virtually every Nintendo character falls from impossible heights and yet never has anything bad happen to them. Alright, don't really see why you needed a human with a baseball bat to help you when you're obviously super powerful and can take tons of bosses on your own. And the kid has what, a baseball bat? It's one of those cool/stupid weapons that kids from the 80s and 90s have in video games, like, a yo-yo that defeats terrorists with guns. Anyway, the power-ups you'll come across in this game are at first hearts that refill 2 on your energy meter, but you only have a limited number per level, usually around 6 or 7 before the level just stops giving them to you. Then there's also question marks which you collect after defeating bosses that sometimes give you points and occasionally like to either refill your energy or turn you into the gargoyle, but that is also completely random for either of those. If you want to turn to the gargoyle, you have to find the green pill. You can only be the gargoyle for around 30 to 45 seconds, but in that time, he flies through the air and over lots of obstacles. It's one of those things where you have to tap the A button repeatedly to fly up into the air, otherwise you just constantly fall to the ground. Both Mark and the gargoyle can select down to go incredibly fast to the ground, but it doesn't really hurt an enemy, it just makes you fall down faster. It's not really useful for Mark, but it is useful for the gargoyle at dodging a lot of projectiles from bosses. However, the best part about the bat is when you jump up into the air in some of these bosses, you can generally hit the jump button and hold the attack button at the same time, and instead of just whacking the bat really quickly, you instead hold it out the entire duration of your jump. This way, you can take out bosses almost immediately, as you hit them not only multiple times, but deflect all the stuff they're throwing at you. This is a way to get through at least half the bosses in this game very easily. Yeah, that's pretty much it for how the game functions and the actions that you can do. Although you can also crawl really slow as Mark, but this really serves no purpose whatsoever. When you finally fight the final boss on each stage, you're given the key to the level. Basically, there's a door at the end of every level that will not let you enter unless you fight all the bosses. And the bosses themselves are hidden in various doors throughout the level. They never actually change, so once you actually know where the bosses are, you don't need to go into any of the other rooms. Now, however, the reason you kept playing this game most of the time was to see all the weird bosses that you would fight throughout. So let's see what else this game has in store for us for some of the bosses as well as some of the regular enemies. Oh yeah, and before we begin, watch the gargoyle climb a ladder. I mean, he looks like a freaking lizard. Alright, there's a Medusa. You hit snakes back at her. I mean, basically every boss you can try to whack things with the bat back at them, but most of the time it's just completely stupid and you're gonna fail and die. Most of the time you just want to run up to the boss, knock the crap out of them, and then eventually you just win after getting hit a few times. You know what, it's funny because after all this madness, level 2 begins and you finally see a regular Earth creature. There's like an alligator taking a vacation from Earth to visit this planet. Yeah, because you're actually on another planet if you actually read the intro. Level 2 has the most bosses. There's that Medusa, and then a shrimp tempura? And then there's an onion ring, followed by a kebab? I mean, I don't see how this relates to monsters at all. Was there some Japanese movie where food came to life and tried to kill people that I missed out on? These bosses are very time-consuming if you come here with Mike and the baseball bat, but you can't actually be hurt if you duck. See, all you have to do is duck, wait for them to pass by, and then quickly jump up with your bat raised and hit them. It's pretty tedious, but it beats dying, because when you die, you basically have to repeat the entire level again. At least you have unlimited continues and a password save feature. Well, finally you get to the 5th boss in this game, which is a bunch of spinning plates over a well. You know, this kind of reminds me of this battle in Legend of the Mystical Ninja. It's a game that's really Japanese and hasn't really been altered in any way. I recommend everybody play Legend of Mystic Ninja if you've never heard of it. It's actually incredibly fun and one of the best games on the Super Nintendo. Well, next level we got pig ghosts, teleporting and jumping skeletons, and vampires that turn into umbrellas for some reason. Okay, I actually thought that this might be a Japanese pun, But when I looked it up, umbrella and bat don't actually sound the same or look like they're spelled the same at all. So I really have no idea why these are here. Well, the first boss is a minotaur that tosses cows at you. Yes, he throws cows at you. Well, then you fight an invisible man that throws bandages at you in front of a sphinx, followed by a spider that's impossible to defeat with the kid. Well, next we have the Egyptian level, though why the Egyptian boss wasn't in this level instead of the past level, I don't really know. Well, apparently this demon planet that you're on, where Bert the gargoyle lives, apparently it looks a lot like Earth. I mean, it's got sewers, it has Egyptian levels, I mean, it even has like a natural forest and waterways. I mean, the only thing it doesn't have that Earth does is, of course, a land full of clouds that you can walk on, and trees and things that turn into horrible, hideous nightmares. Well, the next bosses we got are a suit of mystical armor, followed by a cat in the box. Well, this cat is actually the only boss you want to fight with by tossing the projectiles back at him, but that's only because they never move. And then we end with a punk musician tossing musical notes. Level 5 has only one boss. It makes you think there are two when you start out seeing this. Yes, all you have to do is watch the zombies dance and you win! I guess there's only one boss in this level to reward you for all the platforming you have to do, but all you really have to do is jump over happy snakes and... okay, those sharks are actually pretty hilarious. But anyway, either way, you don't really have to attack anything this level, you just jump around, fight a boss, and then beat it. It's very short. In fact, even the boss is incredibly easy. All you have to do is run up behind him, hold your little AB combo, and he's pretty much dead in about 3 seconds. Level 6 is a haunted house with multiple doors. You basically have to find your way to the boss, and then find your way to the final door to leave the level. Luckily, there's only one boss here, or else it'd be really crazy to navigate this. Basically, it's pretty easy to find the boss, but then you just kind of stumble around until either you hopefully find the correct door, or you just pretty much die because there's comets falling at you all over the place that you can't actually dodge. Then we have level 7, which really hates OCD gamers like me. I mean, I fought the first 2 bosses, and then when I finally got the 3rd one, I had the key taken away from me. This game actually punishes you for fighting all the bosses. The only thing you can do to continue is to kill yourself and just start the level over. Yep. Anyway, the first boss is Royce, who not only rolls, get it, but he's also a literal bed bug. That's like 2 puns in one boss. I don't know how your mind can take that without hysterical laughter. Well, then you get to fight Death. The funny thing about this level, it is clearly designed to be a platformer for Mark, but having the ability to turn into the gargoyle actually kind of defeats the whole purpose of this level, because you can just fly right on past everything. Well, finally I've reached level 8. I wonder what crazy bosses I'm going to have to fight in this final level. We got a dragon, which this is actually one of the hardest bosses in the game because his entire body can hurt you, but you're only trying to fire at his head. Good luck whacking him with a baseball bat when he's flying all over the place. Also, this boss is pretty much hidden. You immediately have to know to go left to go into the door and fight him, otherwise you get to the end of the level and have to walk all the way back to find him. Along the way are witches, but they're sort of immortal, so you don't really want to fight them, so just stay away from the top third of the screen, and just stick to the bottom and start whacking away at the running candlesticks. Yeah, that explode. Alright, they might be actually TNT that runs at you and explode, who can really tell? Anyway, you fight a red skeleton, fight another Egyptian boss that doesn't take place in the Egyptian level. Afterwards, the 4th and final boss is actually the end boss. He's a gigantic head with giant eyes, and he shoots eyeballs out of his mouth. Now, this is actually really easy to beat if you just have Mark and his baseball bat. Just wait for his eye to open where his nose is. Yeah, I don't know. And then just start whacking away. I mean, he pretty much dies as long as you have at least 8 hit points available. You can pretty much beat him. And And then afterwards, we get pretty much one of the most ridiculous and disturbing endings in a Nintendo game. I mean, people go after Mortal Kombat and Night Trap in court, but I'm pretty sure if they knew this was available on the market, this would have superseded all of them. That's right, her flesh melts off and she becomes a giant zombie creature. Oh, but that's not the best part. Watch this. That would have been a hilarious way to end. Thank you for playing our game. You died. Basically, you wake up and you find out it's all a dream. But then as you get ready for school, Bert is waiting for you. Ready to go again? Damn, your friend looks possessed and evil now. At first, I actually thought this was one of those Nintendo games where, by implying ready to go again, that meant you actually had to play through the entire game again in order to get the real ending. But luckily, that's not the case. After the credits, the game just freezes, and it won't allow you to reset anyway, so yep, that's pretty much all you can do to this game now. Well, Monster Party and Jaws were my first video games I played, and with a game as messed up as Monster Party, I still turned out pretty okay. You were waiting for me to say some kind of remark about killing people, weren't you? Now, with Jaws, I couldn't actually find any Japanese release, and with Monster Party, it's the same thing. However, in the year 2000, some screenshots were actually found from the Japanese cart. In fact, the cancelled Japanese prototype was sold for $6,000 in Japan, and since then the ROM has never surfaced. There's actually many fans working on a Monster Party remake, in which they're trying to actually redo the entire game so it looks exactly like the prototype. You see, they found a lot of extra sprites that were left in the game, and some that were just covered up when they actually started porting it. Most likely, a lot of the characters were from American copywritten properties, and so they changed a lot of the things. For instance, the man who bought the cart actually uploaded his playthrough of the first level, and you can actually tell that the first eggplant monster was actually supposed to be a singing carnivorous plant that is obviously alluding to Littlest Shop of Horrors. And the Pumpkinhead, he was actually supposed to be an ape on a horse. You wouldn't think that an ape on a horse would be a copyrighted material. Oh wait, there's a Statue of Liberty in the background. It's Planet of the Apes. Apparently the cat was supposed to be a gremlin, and I would love to see this, because I really love the Gremlins movies. However, I haven't really seen any evidence of anything past the first level when it comes to the copyrighted materials that were replaced. Oh yeah, and if you couldn't tell already, the original title in Monster Party was supposed to be Red Blood instead of Green Blood, but then they forgot to change the rest of the game because as soon as you hit start, you see a screen of blood. Oops. Now there's actually a lot more on Monster Party you can check out. For instance, there's a really cool review from the gaming historian at retrowaretv.com. You can also check out the beta restoration project videos, which I've also included here. And each of those also has 10 videos, and as well as links to the site that show you the updates for the restoration project. And finally, if you want to learn about some of the Japanese monsters in the Monster Party game and how they relate to Japanese folklore, then you should check out Matthew Patrick 13 on YouTube for his series Game Exchange. The links to all of these will be included below, so you should definitely check them all out as they're all pretty interesting. Well, now it's time to die, so you know what that means, right? Happy music!